Hi, everyone. It's Nina Collins here at the Wolfer. Very excited today to be here with Christine Platt. Welcome, Christine.
Thank
Christine
you.
is the very well known on Instagram. She has like a gazillion followers, is the Afrominimalist. And she has a book out called The Afrominimalist Guide to Living with Less that's just come
Yes.
out, I believe, this week, last week.
Yeah, Tuesday. It just came out on Tuesday.
So we're here to talk about Christine's work around minimalism. I also just didn't realize that that you have a really interesting job at American. So tell us again what your title is.
Managing director of the Anti-Racist Research and Policy Center.
So you must be very popular these days.
Oh, we can call it popular. We can call it, we get a lot of emails. We just get a lot of emails.
I bet you get a lot of emails.
Special people out there in the world. But yeah, I mean, when you've been doing this work for so long, it's par for the course, and it doesn't hit you the same way as it did maybe when you first started out,
Right. And
Yeah.
you're a lawyer by training.
I am. I'm a lawyer by trade. I am not barred I'm not trying to practice ever. But yeah, I graduated from Stetson University College of Law. And wow, that was 2005, which is crazy. So lawyer by trade and also historian.
Really?
So I have a bachelor's and master's in African and African American studies. So yeah.
How great. And where did you grow up? Sorry, I like knowing all these basic things.
Okay. I grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mhm.
Very interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a great background. So tell us a little bit how you got to this concept, into this.
Oh my goodness.
In your life. Yeah. Why this book? You've done so many things.
I know. So this is actually my first lifestyle book. My very first book was actually a historical fiction. And I just thought I was going to be a novelist all my life. And that book I independently published. It's called The Truth About a Wheatie. And that was a book that actually got me an agent. And so then it was time for my next novel. And it was very different, right? It went from being, oh, this is so fun, this is a passion, to, oh my gosh, this is work, there are deadlines, this is so stressful. So, yeah. And so I went through a really creative lull. And this was around, like 2015, 2016. And I just couldn't write. I guess it's writer's block, which I now know is like, that's a whole other episode.
I was in publishing for many years, and I was a literary agent. So who was your agent?
My agent is Emily Sylvan Kim.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
right?
Prospect Agency. Yeah. So anyway, she, tried to support me as best as she could. And she came to me one day and she said, "Hey, I know you said you weren't going to write for children, but I have this amazing opportunity that is focused on African American history and culture for young people." And I was like, fine, I'm a struggling novelist anyway. And Anna and Andrew is the name of that series. And it ended up just reawakening my love for storytelling. So I have over 24 books, but this is my first adult nonfiction. So I have to just give that backstory. So I don't want people to know I want them to understand this is not my first book, but it is my first nonfiction lifestyle book for adults. And during that time when I was going through that just creative lull and really struggling, I started to just look around our home. It was the first time that I was home 90% of the time, as opposed to being outside of the home 90% of the time. And so really had an opportunity to see look at how much stuff we have, look at how much space we're not using. And so that's when I began my journey to minimalism. I didn't see a lot of minimalists of color online. And so I started my own platform as the Afrominimalist, because my lifestyle is minimalism infused with the history and culture and beauty of the African diaspora. So anyway, I've been sharing my stories online for a long time. And then next thing you knew, we were in quarantine, and so many people found themselves in the space that I was in 2015, 2016. And, my agent, she's like, I think you should write this Afro-minimalist book. Like, I think it's
Yeah, I
time.
mean, I'm sure she felt that way. You have whatever 60,000 followers on Instagram. You have a platform.
Yeah, but you know what's so wild? This is last summer, and I probably only had like 20,000 followers last summer.
Wow.
This has all been like during the pandemic, because so many people now have been forced to reckon with their
Yes.
belongings, reckon with their space. Does it serve me? Do I really need more? Can I reimagine it? Right. And so, yeah, it just became a wonderful way to sort of take the conversation to another level and off the Instagram platform. So yeah, this book was written during the pandemic and published right after the pandemic was over.
I'm super impressed. I have to say, you've done so many things.
Thank you.
I mean, that's really, you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a beautiful looking book too. But I agree, being home during the pandemic, the thing, like, we weren't really spending money on anything. The thing people were spending money on was their homes, I think. If
Yeah.
they, people wanted to figure out, I'd say I'm probably somewhat of a minimalist. I don't know if I would qualify for your standards, but when my current boyfriend first came over here 3 years ago, he was like, "You don't have anything. Like, where's your stuff?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I've raised 4 kids, and as my
Nina,
kids grow up, I just get rid of stuff.
Nina, I want to address something you said, because I think it's so important to this conversation. You said, I don't know if I'm a minimalist by your standards, right? And so this is like what I want to get at the heart of the book. So well, I've learned many lessons on my journey to minimalism, but the biggest lesson that I learned was that we have to choose authenticity over aesthetics. Because what has happened is that mainstream minimalism focuses on the aesthetics of minimalism, which is why you'll say, I don't know if I'm really a minimalist, right? Or someone will say, oh, I don't think I can be a minimalist, because of the images that we repeatedly see and all of these unofficial rules. What I have learned is that minimalism is really a mindset. It's about being a conscious consumer. My form of minimalism is Afro-minimalism, but everyone should be developing their own personal practice. Our needs are not the same. Our wants are not the same, right? And so you probably are a minimalist according to you're doing minimalism your way, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, I guess the way, because I do feel like I'm a bit of a consumer, particularly lately. Actually, I was thinking as I was preparing for this interview that there was a great article in the Times either this morning or yesterday that really helped me understand why we're suddenly having a shortage of things, right? There's a whole inflation issue.
Yeah.
People are running around shopping like crazy suddenly. So you can't get cars. And but I do think I'm a minimalist in the sense that I also, and I want to know what you think of Marie Kondo. I definitely ascribe to the kind of, if it doesn't bring you joy, you shouldn't have it. So I really keep my spaces. It's very important to me that I'm only looking at things I love, and that I only have things around that I'm actually using. So, but where I guess I might be a little wasteful is I get rid of probably too much. Like, I'm not as much of I probably should be more cautious about what I purchase, that kind of thing. Anyway, it's a process, as I'm sure you would say.
It is. It's a process, and you can be, more mindful about how you pay it forward, with the things that you do let go, so you don't have this level of, oh, I shouldn't be letting go as much. You should be letting go of anything that doesn't serve you. It's just, paying it forward in a way that it can really benefit someone else, and not really
and giving to other people.
So no buy groups.
One of your no buy groups is a great point. Those are really popular in our community. People talk about this. I love that. You love no buy groups. One of the things you talk about that really resonates with me is the whole letting go of what doesn't serve you. I have to say, I think that's I became a life coach, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I don't practice it, but it was one of the things I learned in that program, that idea of like, how does X serve you? How does this behavior serve you? How does this situation serve you? And if it doesn't, how do you let it go? How do you move away from it?
Yeah.
It's a really helpful thing to learn.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time that like minimalism is like a gateway to living with intention, right? Like so many of us, we start out like, I am just going to get my closet in order. I am going to get my home decor in order, right? But there's no way that you can just be intentional with your clothing or your belongings and not have this intention trickle into every area of your life. When it comes to folks like Marie Kondo, Josh and Ryan, I mean, like there's so many minimalist practitioners that have their own approach and their own ways of, defining minimalism and that sort of thing. And I really encourage people to just take the bits and pieces that work for them, again, to build your own practice. I literally KonMari my closet every 4 months.
Really?
Yeah, because
so well, you have to, I'm sorry, that's fascinating to me. You have to tell me what that involves. What do you do?
Yes, it's every 3 to 4 months, because I'm part of Project 333. And Project 333 is a minimalist fashion challenge, where you wear the same 33 pieces for 3 to 4 months. So yeah, so I KonMari my closet all the time. But
33 pieces. Hold on. Does that include underwear and shoes?
No, no. Well, shoes, yeah. And again, I tell people all the time, do it in a way that works for you, right? Like if you have 200 items in your closet and you're like, there's no way I can get down to 33 pieces. I got it down to 40. This is the best I can do. Good for you, right? Like, no,
right.
no one is holding you.
Right. No one's holding it. No one's holding a gun to your head. And then do you get rid of the clothes at the 4-month mark? What do you do then?
I mean, I don't. Again, I have gone through my closet so many times that everything that I have is something that I really, really love. The only time I get rid of things is if I bring in something new and I have to make space for it, right? And so it makes me very intentional about what I purchase. I love everything that I have, and so I'm like, oh, it's gonna have to be really good for me to part ways.
That is interesting, right? That's definitely an area where I'm a classic wasteful kind of. I think it's a very feminine trait. Also, you buy clothes and you wear.
Mm-hmm.
You love one out of every, I don't know, 8 things you buy or something. So that's pretty inspiring. Actually, speaking of your closet, I was wondering if you were going to come on wearing something red, because red is clearly
it is my color. And I was just like, you know what? It's been like red overkill. I mean, I have my red polish. But I'm home and I'm lounging, and I think I did the most with my little red dress on book launch day. So I'm like, let me just tone it down.
You looked fabulous. No, you looked really great. So another question I have for you is, you use the language letting go as opposed to, say, decluttering or
or purge.
So talk to me a little bit about what letting go means to you and why you chose that language.
Yeah. I mean, again, everyone defines it in their own way, but I think, there's power in the language that we use, right? And some words really just have a negative connotation and like make us think of our things differently, make us think of the process differently. I try to avoid words like purge, or I'm going to trash something, right? I tend to use letting go and decluttering sort of interchangeably. But for me, that's what I'm doing, right? I am looking at the process as I'm letting things go that no longer serve me, and I'm going to pay it forward by making sure that they are donated to people or organizations who do. So that's why I use that language.
Beautiful. I really appreciate it. It reminds me of, I hate when people use the word dump, like to dump a boyfriend. It's such awful language.
Right? Like we just have to be, it's just taking like that extra step to like, how can I define this a little better, that it's more affirming and positive than, just so negative, right? So it's already it can be a daunting process, especially when you're first starting. So I'm always like, you want to use as positive as words as possible.
Yeah. And also letting go implies to me a going somewhere in a way, like you're letting go so that you can allow new things in, and you can, or find where you want to be better or something. I know there's something movement in letting go that I really do like.
Yeah.
And so what's your home life like? Like, who do you live with? And is everyone else a minimalist?
Oh my goodness. So on Saturday, my senior will be graduating from high school. So I am about to be an empty nester.
Welcome to it's a wonderful world. I know you're in that hard spot. I always tell people, when my oldest left, I cried the entire summer after her graduation. But but by November, I'm telling you, this really is true, I think, for everyone. Once like she gets settled into, it's a girl, right? She gets settled
Yes,
in college,
yes.
and you develop your new normal and your new texting routine. You're gonna come home one day and be like, well, you're already a minimalist. But for me, it was like, I was like, oh my God, the house is so clean and so
I
quiet.
know. No,
It's
I know.
it's
I'm already there with
it's
that.
heaven. It's heaven. As much as you love them, it's
I
fine.
know, I know. And we live in 630 square feet. So she has had no choice but to be a minimalist. But I think it's something that children, sort of embrace naturally, right? Like it's so hard for them to
Mine
manage
don't.
all of their things. Yeah. I mean, like you have to kind of get them to that point, but it's like, where we would constantly be like, your room is so messy, your room is so messy, your room is clean up your room, clean up your room, clean up, right? And at the end of the day, like having to acknowledge they're not bringing all of this stuff into the house, right? We're
Right.
buying them things, we're
Yes.
accepting gifts when we should say no, right? And so a lot of the things that children have are not even
Our
things that
fault.
they want or that they asked for. And then we're asking them to be responsible and tidy up and do all that. It's just too much. So I really encourage parents to really try and get their children to, declutter or let go, however you want to frame it. And they tend to do that really well when it comes from a place of compassion rather than discipline. So, as opposed to saying, clean up your room right now, you have too much stuff, giving them a donation bag and saying like, wow, you're so fortunate. You have so many things. Why don't you just fill this bag with some for, things that you're no longer using, things that can be helpful to other children who are not as fortunate as you. And it's so funny because every time I give parents that advice, it's like inevitable. They come back to me in a day or two and they're like, I cannot believe it worked. I can't believe it worked. And I'm like, of course it worked, right? Like it just, it's all in the approach, I feel like,
Yeah.
with young people. Yeah.
Very good idea. I have to say now I'm 51. How old are you?
I'm 44. I'll be 45 in December.
Young. Um, Now my kids are grown, and I hear something like that and think, oh, I wish I had done that. It's too late. But maybe with grandchildren, but it is really a very good idea. You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when my kids were home, the constant cleaning out of their room. Sometimes I would do it when they were at school. I
Yeah.
would kind of purge their room, to use a bad word,
Mhm.
and get rid of so much stuff. And anyway, it's a very interesting idea to think from a young age to help a child
Mhm. Yeah.
understand the ideas of letting go
And
and passing on.
yeah. Yeah. And there are parents that have a lot of like really creative ideas. I heard from one mom who told me they have a bag that just hangs in their like laundry area or like main room area. And all the kids know, like if there's something that they no longer, need, use, love, want to let go, they just put it in that bag and she donates. Yeah, so there are so many ways that you can get creative with it to make it just a habit, right? Like it's just a part of your life. It's a
Yeah.
mindset of,
So
being able to let go.
yeah, no, I love it. I really do. Let's talk for a sec about how we can pass things on, because I think
Mhm.
sometimes people have trouble figuring out where to donate things, and
Yeah.
these like Facebook groups now for,
Mhm.
buy nothing groups. That seems like a relatively new trend, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, buy nothing groups are like one of my favorite suggestions now, because I mean, you're benefiting people in your community. You get to meet so many amazing people. And it really encourages people to look beyond what I call the usual suspects that are like Salvation Army and Goodwill, who are, oftentimes overburdened,
Yep, they
than
are. They also don't
benefiting.
even want
Yeah.
your donations.
They're
I don't belong
overburdened.
to a buy nothing group, and I should. How do I find
Yeah.
one?
You can go to buynothing.org, and they're literally all over the world, and they will link you to the closest Buy Nothing group in your area. And there you go. They probably have a page on Facebook, but that group will definitely link you. But yeah, it's looking beyond the usual suspects who are often more overburdened and benefited from a lot of our donations. I encourage people to think about different missions that they are, passionate about, because it's easier to let items go when it's serving a mission or organization that you believe
Yeah.
in, as opposed to like, oh, I'm just going to leave this here. who's going to get, because even when we're letting go of things, sometimes we still have attachments.
No, it's a
to
good point. I actually have 2 huge boxes right now of clothes that I need to get rid of that I couldn't do because it was right before COVID happened. And they're actually good clothes and they're things I like. And I'd like them to go to women who will, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Dress for Success or something like
That's
that.
what I did. I did Dress for Success. And I had a number of just like amazing suits that I mean, obviously I was still attached to them to the point where I couldn't just like drop them off somewhere. I mean, it gets easier over time. I'm 5 years in now. So now I would be like, here, take the suit. But I remember it being still very difficult for me. But there was something about knowing that they were going to dress for success, that they were going to change some woman's life.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? It just made it like,
it's a great feeling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a really different feeling. And so
you have so inspired me, Christine. I have to say today, because I'm also in Brooklyn where I haven't been living that much. So I'm going to both call Dress for Success and I'm also going to find my local Buy Nothing group.
Oh, yeah. You will love, I mean, the New York Buy Nothing groups are amazing. There are definitely certain like little pockets. And I think in cities, like it's a big thing because, there's only certain furniture that can fit in certain spaces and, and so like you're really helping your neighbors and you meet some pretty amazing people.
Some cool people. And do you consult as part of your work? Like, do you consult with people?
I do not. Not not as a paid consultant. I feel like, but I encourage people online. Obviously, I have friends and family that reach out all the time. But I mean, that's why I wrote the book. Like, this is really a process of self-discovery and work that people can do themselves and should do themselves, right? I do know 2 wonderful professional declutterers, right? Like there are people you can call in to help you, but I am not a professional declutterer. And so
I'm actually super good at that. I often think that really should have just been my career.
Really?
I sometimes offend people. Like I'll go to I once went to my Aunt Francine's house and she and my grandmother were sitting out on the deck and I spent the whole day cleaning her kitchen. And I think she was a little offended, but I couldn't resist. Like, and I really, I really like to.
Yeah, there are people that like, that is their passion. I am more words of affirmation.
You're gentler. You're more philosophical. I'm a little more.
Let me encourage you as opposed to being hands-on. But yeah, no, I think it's so, important if you feel like, like if your home or wardrobe is at a place where you feel like you need professional help, that there's no harm at all in doing that. And any professional declutterer is going to, again, guide you and help you to do the work so that you can maintain, this new life that you've built.
Yeah, I just thought of my friend. I have a dear friend, Wendy, who's also a member of the community, and she is a little bit of a hoarder, and I'm going to give her this book.
Yay, good. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I love is that it's sparking just so many wonderful conversations, right? Because it's talking about minimalism and decluttering and tidying up in a way that mainstream minimalism just doesn't address, right?
It's very kind of elegant and it's a dose of spirituality, although I wouldn't say it's too heavy-handed on the spiritual. It's a really lovely tone. It's a beautiful book.
Thank you.
Like the way the kind of the fabric.
My mud cloth. Yeah, but like really getting people to talk about like the psychology of ownership and think about their childhood and think about mindless consumption and conspicuous consumption and all these things that like contribute to our spending habits, right? And then also understanding attachments and our fears to letting go of certain things like emotions that come up. Like these are all things that mainstream minimalism doesn't address. And I think it's because there's such this focus and emphasis on aesthetics. And it just has so little to do with the practice itself. And so I love that the book is sparking conversations and it's just been wonderful. Yeah, it's been a wonderful launch week.
Well, I'm very excited to meet, and I guess I'm going to meet you in person in the fall. We're going to have a weekend, which will be really
I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
Fun. The women are amazing, and it's you can kind of feel it in the air now, this post-COVID. I feel like there was this apprehension, and now it's starting to feel like we're relaxing into it's just kind of
Yeah.
exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of creativity and fun and
Oh,
people
we're
getting,
gonna have a great time. I
yeah.
cannot wait.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that was like the first in-person event that I said yes to. So
Oh, good,
very
good.
excited.
Well, we're also featuring your book as our book of the week in our newsletter this Sunday.
Thank you.
We'll be telling people, lots of people about it, and I'm just thrilled to meet you, and I look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Thank you, Nina.
All right, take care.
Same.
Have a great weekend.
All right. See you soon.